Moving on with our videos, this time we're going to discuss implementation of site-to-site IPsec IKEv1 VPN on the FTD. I'm going to quickly discuss the configuration and we will take a look at a demonstration. Now, just in case if you want to use certificates, something like this, you would go to the devices, you would choose certificates, and that would be the place you would use to enroll for a certificate, and that you would then apply to the VPN connection to authenticate it. Now, just to show you the options, you will have to choose the FTD and possibly add a new enrollment, like give it a name. This is more of like a name of the CA where the fetched certificate, CA certificate and identity certificate is going to be stored. So we can choose the enrollment type. If this is going to be SCP, you have to put the URL over here. This is where you specify the identity certificate options. So the subject, the distinguished name, key is where you can generate the RSA keys. ECDSA, remember this is, even that this option is technically available, it's not going to work as of the current version. So you want to stick to RSA, you want to give it a name and choose the key length. And you can optionally set the verification settings. Okay, in our case, I will not be doing this. We will use key-based authentication, which means that I will have to go directly to devices, VPN, site-to-site, and to build a tunnel. And for verification troubleshooting, I can either take a look at the dashboards or I can go to devices, VPN, troubleshooting. If you want to take a look at this in the DocCD, you would go down towards the bottom to virtual private networks. It's actually somewhere in the middle. Firepower Threat Defense VPN. You have information about the VPN support in general and then site-to-site details. Okay, in our case, we will build a tunnel with router 1. And router 1 is configured with a loopback interface that we will use to test this. Now, tunnel, I'm going to say show IP interface brief. It's going to be, what is going to be the subnet? 192.168.1/24. I'm going to put it over here. Okay, so this is going to be the protected subnet on R1. Our VPN gateway connected to the internet and external partner. The tunnel is going to be built from the outside of the FTD, and we're going to make VLAN 11 a protected network on this side. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at that on the wizard. I'm going to go to VPN, devices, VPN, site-to-site. We will start configuring FTD and we will then add configuration to R1. I'm going to choose Firepower Threat Defense device and we will have to configure the nodes. VPN Gateway A and VPN Gateway B. Topology name, I'm going to say to R1. Point-to-point type of connection with IKEv1. Okay, add peer 1. This is going to be my FTD box. And then the interface is going to be outside. Connection type is bidirectional, which means that both devices can initiate the tunnel. We will add protected network on our side in VPN 10.11.11.0/24. Okay, let's just add it and click OK. So this is VPN device number 1, our FTD. Okay, the peer is going to be type of extranet, where extranet applies to non-Cisco devices or Cisco devices not managed by FMC, like our router 1. call it R1. It's 11.1.1.1. And then the protected network. Let's quickly add one R1 VPN. It's going to be 192.168.1.0/24. Okay, so this goes to the right. And we can now move on and take a look at IKEv1 and also IPsec settings. Okay, so for IKE policy, I'm gonna choose SAJ AES128 with Diffie-Hellman group number 5 key-based authentication. Key will be configured manually. It is gonna be set to Cisco. IKEv2 settings, they don't apply. For IPsec, let's go for single DS SAJ. Let's choose this proposal. I'm gonna leave other settings at their defaults. And under advanced, we will also leave those in their defaults. Okay, I will need this information to build a policy on R1, so we have a match. Crypto ISACAM policy, let's say 10. Authentication is keys. Encryption was AES128. Diffie-Hellman group was set to 5. And hashing, we said we want to use SAJ. Let me make sure that we've got the same settings. Okay, this should be a match. Then for a key, crypto ISACAM key, it is going to be Cisco. Cisco for the peer. And peer is, what's the FTD's IP address? It's 110.10.10. Anything else we need here for phase 1? No. Now moving on to phase 2 settings. So our IPsec transform set, I'm gonna call it set 1. It was ESP single DES and SAJ1 hashing. I believe that was the setting on the FTD, single DES SAJ. Okay, so we should have a match. I'm gonna save. We will now push this to the FTD. And in the meantime, I'm gonna finish configuration. Hold on, we have a problem here. Strong crypto encryption algorithm greater than DES for VPN topology is not supported. Okay, we cannot choose strong policy in our case because of the licenses. Okay, which means that I'm gonna edit this step and we will choose the weakest policy SAJ single DS group 5. I'm gonna immediately change this. Okay, the mode is tunnel. This is the default for IPsec. Let's go back to the policy. Encryption single DS. Do showdown section policy. Showdown section IPsec. You'll still have to build a crypto map, but let me first push this to FTD. I want to use manual key with Cisco as a password. Okay, this should do the trick. Let's finish configuration on router 1. Crypto map 1. Entry number 10 with IPsec. ISACAMP, this is going to be the right syntax. IPsec ISACAMP, not manual. Okay, who's my peer? Who they want to build a tunnel with? The peer is FTD. It was 110.10.10. How do I want to protect my tunnel? With this transform set. And one more is gonna be to tell it what traffic is gonna be eventually protected by this tunnel. And we don't have an access list. Access list 120 permit communication from our protected subnet, which is 192.168.1. 10/24 in wildcards. Destination is 10/11/11/0/24. We fix this. Go back to the crypto map. Match address 120. And the crypto map goes to the outside interface, which is Giga1. So that's my interface connected to the internet, this one. We go back to FTD. The policy was pushed successfully. We take a look at this on the CLI, let's say Showdown Crypto. So we see the actual crypto map, phase 1 policy, IPsec stuff. Looks pretty good to me. We will now try to build the tunnel, and I'm gonna initiate the tunnel from CSR3, which is my insight. And we may actually want to say show IP route. We have a default route, so I want to ping 192.168.1.1. We may actually want to double check the ACP, but we will do this in just a moment. Show, go to router 1, go to the peer, show crypto session detail. Okay, we see that the tunnel is up. The tunnel is working. I can say show VPN session database for site to site, and I can confirm that this is working on the FTD. Can also take a look at this under analysis, or was it actually, hold on a second, it's going to be overview dashboards. I want to take a look at this in the dashboards. We want to choose this option, access controlled user statistics, and then VPN. So we should see some information here. For instance, I am the ASA guy. Preferred method in my case is just to use the command line. That it's apparently just faster than relying on the dashboards. And in this case, it might actually, this one may actually only show us the remote access VPNs. If we take a look at devices, VPN troubleshooting, maybe let's double check this in the documentation. Oh, let's take a look at managing. I'm going to use this option, VPN monitoring for FTD. Okay, how they get to this dashboard? System health events. Okay, so this is for remote access. For site to site, I would definitely go ahead and try to do the verification from the command line, at least on this version of FMC. So we see that the tunnel is up, but now if I were to not ping but telnet, this is not gonna work. So what's important to remember about this configuration is that for the traffic to be passed to the VPN engine, you want to make sure that you allow this communication in the ACP. In our case, we allow ICMP in any direction, but telnet is not allowed, so it is not making to the engine, and the traffic is not encrypted. We will quickly fix this. I'm gonna add an entry for telnet in out, from the inside to the outside. Okay, so when I add it as a destination, we will save and push. And now actually I need to change this role. We will have to, I'm using different zones for the inside and outside. It's going to be inside 2 as my source, and then outside 2 as a destination. I'm gonna save and deploy. And now as a side note here, that type of a change would not be needed for the other direction of the flow. So if we were to originate the session on the remote subnet over here, you wouldn't have to add those interfaces to the access control policy, but only if you had a special command in place on the FTD, which is the sysopt. It's the sysopt connection permit VPN option. And this is something that you can only change, this parameter, you can only change it via the flex config deployment. So you would have to build a text object associated with the policy object. Well, technically you could just put this command to the flex config policy object, then associate this object with a policy and push deploy this change to the device. Because if you take a look at the FTD, let's say show run all sysopt, the default setting for this command, somewhere here, it's over here. We see that this option is disabled. So this means that the VPN traffic, the traffic from the tunnel received by the gateway, is normally subject to the access control policy. Okay, but this is only for communication that is decapsulated from the tunnel. For the traffic originated by the devices, which is to be encapsulated on the FTD by the FTD, like inside to outside, you still have to make the adjustment to the ACP. Well, let's just try to telnet to confirm that this is not working. The policy was pushed, I'm pretty sure of that. We see we have connectivity, and we should see the counters increase here for this tunnel, which they do.